Smackdown have set us firmly on our way to SummerSlam with another great show, featuring the return of Sasha Banks and a formalisation of the match we all knew was coming between Roman Reigns and John Cena in the main event of SummerSlam. With some SummerSlam spoilers to please be aware of, my name is Tom Colliehue for PCW, and today I'm going to break down everything that happened on WWE Smackdown. Be sure to hit like on the video, subscribe if you haven't, and let's jump straight in. Smackdown opened, as all Smackdowns will be doing for a little while now, with John Cena. He would come out and essentially argue with the promo that Roman Reigns cut at the close of last week, including little jabs at the whole missionary position business. He belittled Finn Balor, that is something that definitely happened, and we're seeing a bit of old school John Cena taking opportunities away from people like Rey Mysterio and just beating up everyone in his path. The Zack Ryder Cena. The Cena who basically just isn't a good guy. Cena would eventually be joined by Baron Corbin, who begged for money, received money, and then was a little ungrateful, so Cena put him in his place. There's a reason for this that will pay off later. This particular Smackdown had a lot of little storylines built into it that paid off later in the show. Our first match was Rey Mysterio versus Jimmy Uso, and Rey Mysterio was able to pick up the win this week where Dominic was not last week. How? Cheating. That's how. It was a good old-fashioned cheat, but its turnabout is fair play cheat, so you're allowed to cheat if your opponent cheats first. That's the general rule, and that's basically how John Cena won his first championship after all. This is continuing to build to the Mysterios against the Usos at SummerSlam. The Usos will be retaining and then moving on to a feud with the Street Profits. Bianca Belair was not in the second hour draw segment, which immediately made me very suspicious as to what was going to happen next. Bianca Belair came down to essentially celebrate her first 100 days as champion. She did last longer than Rhea Ripley, I'll give her that, and it's been a moderately good championship run for a first time run. She would be interrupted by Carmella, who wanted yet another opportunity despite having lost conclusively twice. She would also be interrupted by Zelina Vega, who has not won a lot of matches. Since her return, she's so far lost 3, and there will be a match later in the night, which she loses at for 4. In her total time in WWE, she's had 77 matches and won just 8. And some of those were mixed tag. She also demanded a championship match. Why? You are literally established as the bottom rung of the ladder by this point. The two would eventually combine over the whole we are heels and us best friends business to attack Bianca Belair, and Belair would be rescued by Sasha Banks, who's definitely not going to turn on her at any point. Our main event was booked as Bianca Belair and Sasha Banks against Carmella and Zelina Vega. Reginald defended his 24/7 championship in the ring, which is weird for the 27 championship, and I don't like it. I'd like it to get back to the Crash Holly style days. He didn't successfully defend the championship. He was competing against Chad Gable and essentially survived by DQ because Otis attacked him. Since when can you be DQ'd from a 24/7 championship match? It's barely even a legal match. What are you doing? Our second hour draw segment was Roman Reigns. He was in a contract signing with Finn Balor for a match at SummerSlam which we all knew would not be taking place. Finn Balor was built up moderately well here. It shows a level of respect between Roman and Finn, and I do think we're going to get this feud sooner rather than later, probably starting right after SummerSlam. However, we're not getting the match just yet. Baron Corbin would interfere in the contract signing, beat up Finn Balor very conclusively, and then go to sign the contract himself. Roman wasn't about to stop him. Instead, it looked like we would get Roman versus Baron Corbin, and Baron Corbin got a pretty big cheer here. A pretty big cheer. This Baron Corbin storyline is really working. That said, it did not work out because Baron Corbin and Finn Balor would both be screwed over by John Cena, who would come down, beat up Baron Corbin, and then instead of giving the contract back to Finn Balor, who'd already started to sign it, signed it in a big Sharpie himself, which is apparently good enough to guarantee the main event of SummerSlam. I don't even know where to start with this. Cena just keeps screwing people over. Corbin ultimately was there just to make sure that Cena looked like a returning hero, but he wasn't. He made sure that neither Balor nor Corbin, younger, fitter, happier, more popular stars, did not get a chance here. We had a 6-man tag match that happened last week but wasn't actually shown on TV because we went to Rolling Loud instead. Clever by the WWE. On one side it was Big E, Cesaro and Nakamura, the first time that Cesaro and Nakamura have tagged together in a while. And on the other side it was Apollo Crews, Dolph Ziggler and Robert Roode. This essentially is our Intercontinental Championship division, and working together like this is just a way for the WWE to aid their chemistry, ready to go into some singles matches between everyone there. Big E, by the looks of it, will not be cashing in his briefcase on SmackDown. The match itself was okay. It was very WCW Cruiserweight division where everyone got their shots in. When everyone was hitting their finishers, Shinsuke Nakamura hit an alternative to his finisher, so you knew ahead of time that his finisher would be the one finishing the match, and indeed, it did. Shinsuke Nakamura hitting the Kinshasa on Apollo Crews and pinning him for the 1-2-3. I would imagine that makes him eligible for an Intercontinental Championship match. This also gives us a bit of an opportunity, because SummerSlam does not have an automatic Intercontinental Championship match set up. Give me all 6 of these guys, and a few ladders. Our Edge and Seth Rollins segment was short and sweet. Edge made his entrance, and then we went to commercial break. When we came back, Seth Rollins was in the ring, having mauled Edge in the entryway and just basically destroyed him during the commercial break, which is good. It really does add to the feel that anything can happen, and the WWE need that right now. Seth cut a very intense promo. This is probably his best work since losing the Universal Championship. Edge versus Rollins should be very fun at SummerSlam. Edge will be picking up the win en route to whatever comes next. He's going to be looking towards going for Roman Reigns again. Finn Balor might decide otherwise. Banks and Belair versus Carmella and Zelina Vega was our main event, and it was a pretty good match. Everyone got their spots in, the crowd was hyped up for most of it, Bianca Belair providing the hot tag for Sasha Banks. There was even a couple of Eddie Guerrero tributes in there from both Banks and Zelina Vega as well. Very good touches from everyone involved. Banks is the one who picked up the win, forcing Carmella to tap out to the Banks statement, and then shortly afterwards, Banks did something that nobody saw coming and turned on Bianca Belair, providing a vicious attack, forcing Bianca Belair to tap repeatedly, and by the end of it, nearly making her pass out. This is of course all to build towards SummerSlam, when Sasha Banks will be taking the SmackDown Championship back from Bianca Belair in their match at the event. SmackDown was very good this week. In-ring action took a back seat, the actual wrestling wasn't the highest quality, but the return of Sasha Banks, the use of John Cena and Finn Balor kept things very interesting, and it's good to see some lesser featured stars such as Otis and Chad Gable, who've been steadily involved but never really reaching the top heights, have something to do while they wait for Montez Ford to recover from his surgery. We also got to see Carmella and Zelina Vega at least wrestle in a match, even though they did lose, but we are still missing people like Liv Morgan, who looked like she had a promising storyline going into Money in the Bank, and Toni Storm, who debuted last week and was not visible at any point this week, as well of course as Shotzi and Tegan Nox. It shows that they've been calling people up without much of a plan. Let me know what you thought of SmackDown in the comments. For PCW, I've been Tom Collihew, and thank you very much for watching.